Khemkaran sector, 9 September 2015. Fanfare, fervour, felicitations. To mark the 50th anniversary of the 1965 India-Pakistan War, the Punjab Chief Minister pays homage to the war heroes and martyrs at this famous war theatre where they had repulsed Pakistan's mighty armoured divisions 50 years ago in what is popularly known as the Battle of Asal Uttar. Asal Uttar, which translates to the befitting reply.
Advance करते हुए दुश्मन on fire!
Khemkaran sector, 7th September 1965. The Pakistan army attacked behind a moving wall of steel of Patton tanks, a gift of the United States of America to fight the Chinese. They came, line upon line, the dreaded Patton tanks, 44-ton monsters of steel, shells ripping into our positions, guns blazing, turrets booming. They came smashing and pulverizing almost everything in their wake. They came in waves and crashed into a human shield of raw guts, courage, and the indomitable will to hold on against fearful odds.
This is where they were stopped.
Abhijit Ghosh, senior editor with the Times of India, reported from the area in August 2015.
The Battle of Asal Uttar was actually spread over, it happened not only in Asal Uttar, but there were also other neighbouring villages such as Bhura Kohna, Chima, Amarkot, Valtoha and Bhura Karimpur. All these villages were a battleground for 4 days. And it was a very desperate do-or-die kind of battle that began on September 7th. And basically Pakistan's General Ayub Khan, he had dreamt of capturing Amritsar. And this battle ensured that dream turned into a nightmare because this place became the graveyard of the feared Patton tanks. Pakistan lost 97 tanks in that battle, including 72 Patton tanks. And after this battle, their whole ambition of going to Amritsar lay in tatters. So this is a decisive battle on this front because after this battle, the Pakistanis couldn't go any forward. And the man who turned the tide in favor of India was Abdul Hamid.
Company Quarter Master Havildar Abdul Hamid surveys the area with his binoculars. The steady rat-a-tat of not-so-distant machine gun fire makes him recall the sewing machine his father works on in the little village called Dhamupur in Uttar Pradesh. It is 9:30 in the morning of 8th September. He walks up to the recoilless gun detachment he has been asked to command and inspects the weapon at his disposal. Colonel Abdul Rasul Khan of 4 Grenadiers, the same regiment as that of Abdul Hamid, had met him the evening before.
In the evening of 7th, I was going somewhere and in between I met Hamid. So then I asked him, look, you didn't blow up the bridge on Thepanu? So he said, Sahab, how could I, with this toy that I have got, meaning that 57mm RCL gun, recoilless gun, shoulder fired, designed to blow up soft vehicles, not effective against concrete structure or tank. And we went in operation with 57mm RCL gun. But luckily someone thought of it. Collection party was sent to an ordnance depot near Jalandhar. From here, 4 106mm RCL guns mounted on jeeps were collected. And that particular time I call not as an incident, but I would say that it was something designed by divine powers. That particular time, 4 RCL guns which I mentioned, jeeps, were coming down from the road towards where we were sitting. And he was the first to saw it. Oh, sahab, dekho na sahab, ye hui na baat, ab dekhna inshallah.
The driver and the loader spring up to salute Hamid. He nods at them and silently slides into the co-driver's seat. His team gets the signal, jumps into the jeep and braces for a rough journey ahead. The jeep-mounted M40 106mm recoilless or RCL gun gleams in the sun, having been polished by his loyal driver Muhammad Naseem. The odds were heavily stacked against India. Colonel Abdul Rasul Khan looks back.
Their attack was preceded by a very heavy artillery fire. And in sphere of artillery also, we had very light guns. They had heavier guns. And on top of that, they employed their air force very effectively. But I would say, whether you call the spirit of the battalion, or you call the elan of the battalion, or the camaraderie, okay, we all, I would say, resolved, I think even at individual level, that we will stick to this ground. We will not let this place fall into the hands of the enemy. That was the sort of result. Call it miracle, and I say it was a miracle in the sense that Pakistan had an armoured supported by artillery air force. And what sort of armour? Patton, the best tank of that time. And what we had to counter them? 4 RCL guns. And my dear, I want to tell you one thing about RCL gun, its characteristics. It's a smooth gun, recoilless. Its shell, if it strikes any known tank, even now, it will send it into flames. However, it had very terrible weakness in the sense that then when it fired, it threw back a blast of 45 meters, which could be seen from miles. And once armor sees an RCL somewhere, they make it a mission of their life to wipe it out.
Hamid's detachment soon reaches Chima village. He orders the jeep to be hidden in the sugarcane and cotton fields. He's in communication with Minu Pantaki, who has climbed a nearby tree to spot enemy movement. Pantaki directs about the bearing of enemy movement. Hamid aligns his gun accordingly and gets ready for the shikar. Within moments, they can hear the ominous rumble of Pakistan's deadly Patton tanks. The men of 4 grenadiers wait with bated breath as the enemy rolls closer, confident that Indians would not be able to withstand their firepower. As the tanks come within range, Pantaki signals. Hamid's portable weapon growls and spews fire. A Pakistani tank bursts into flames. Hamid allows himself a smile and congratulates the loader.
Shabash! Ab gun, move position mein. Dahin harkat!
Within moments, the gun has been stowed away and the jeep is speeding towards a different position. They are ready to repeat this feat, but there is a sudden pause. Hamid sees the succeeding tanks being deserted by their Pakistani crews. The enemy withdraws. The tanks stop coming and artillery barrage begins. It seems that Pakistani armour has sought the help of artillery to soften the grenadiers' position. After what seems like hours, the shelling stops. The driver Naseem gesticulates wildly. Abdul Hamid knows why. More Pakistani tanks appear on the horizon, confident that this time India will not resist. They could not have been more wrong. As a Patton tank comes within shooting range, Hamid fires again. The projectile arches its way towards the target, landing on it with a loud explosion. Hamid is about to order the jeep to change location, but he stops himself. He doesn't need to. Like earlier in the day, the front tank being decimated has led the enemy to panic. In one day, armed with nothing but a recoilless gun, Hamid's team has neutralized 2 enemy tanks and caused 4 others to be abandoned.
कंधों से मिलते हैं कंधे कदमों से कदम मिलते हैं हम चलते हैं जब ऐसे तो दिल दुश्मन के हिलते हैं.
As his jeep rolls back into camp, he sees Indian sappers working overtime to mine the area. The camp is in a jovial mood. The soldiers don't mind one bit that they are numerically outnumbered by the Pakistanis on that front, and that they have only recoilless guns to fight an entire armoured division of a technologically advanced enemy. All Hamid can hear are voices which are determined and eager for the kill.
शोला बन के पत्थर है पिघलाना अब जो भी हो बादल बन के पर्वत पर है छाना कंधों से मिलते हैं कंधे कदमों से कदम मिलते हैं हम चलते हैं जब ऐसे तो दिल दुश्मन के हिलते हैं कंधों कंधों से मिलते हैं, कंधे कदमों से कदम मिलते हैं, हम चलते हैं जब ऐसे तो दिल दुश्मन के हिलते हैं।
9th September 1965. Pakistani sabers pound Khemkaran. As Hamid waits for the pounding to stop, he thinks about tackling the next onslaught of Pakistani tanks. Before he goes into battle, Abdul Hamid salutes Minu Pantaki, who sits on a nearby tree, scanning for enemy movement with his eagle-sharp eyes. The two share a nod. The battle begins. One fascinating aspect of this battle was the innovative partnership between Havildar Abdul Hamid and Lieutenant Minu Pantaki, a forward observation post officer from 91 Mountain Regiment, now 91 Medium Regiment. The legend of Asal Uttar is a legend of the bonding, solidarity and harmony that so typifies our armed forces. Colonel Abdul Rasul Khan of the 4 Grenadiers.
The CEO was a Christian, Farad Bhatti, 2-3 company commanders, Jats, 4 Muslim officers, 25% Muslim troops, 1 company commander Sikh, their battery commander, 91 Mountain Regiment, was a Sikh, their CEO was a Christian, and the brigade commander was a Sikh. And on top of that, which I want to especially mention, was this Parsi officer, Minu Pantaki. Totally national, and the whole nation being represented.
Within a few hours, Pakistan has lost 2 more tanks to Abdul Hamid's hit-and-run tactics. The enemy is completely baffled as to how an infantry battalion is managing to inflict crippling damage to their war effort. The grand Pakistani design of bringing India to its knees in a well-planned blitzkrieg has been halted by a former tailor from eastern Uttar Pradesh and his comrades.
बोलो यार हाँ, अपनी जीत हो, उनकी हार हाँ, कोई हमसे जीत न पावे, चले चलो, चले चलो, मिट जावे जो टकरावे, चले चलो, कल घोर अंधेरा छावे, चले चलो, चले चलो, कोई राह में ना थम जावे, चले चलो.
A cold sun rises on the 10th of September. The swaying sugarcane fields remind Abdul Hamid of the Fasal in Ghazipur. He's in a good mood today. His shooting down 4 enemy tanks has not gone unnoticed. He has been recommended for Paramveer Chakra. Abdul Hamid vows he will buy jewelry and toys for his family when he returns home after the war. A longing for his village wells up in him. Pantaki communicates their bearing and Hamid gets to work. He hides in the thick vegetation. The Pakistani commander in the lead tank signals to his compatriots, "Follow me, the road ahead is clear." As the Pakistanis heave a sigh of relief, Hamid's RCL gun chatters again. The leading Patton tank has ceased to exist. Hamid's jeep moves rapidly within the blink of an eye. By the time enemy tanks locate and fire at his position, he has shifted to another location, adjusted his gun and fired again. The second Patton goes up in flames. Hamid feels shells raining around him. One bullet misses him by a whisker. He asks his driver to jump off into the cotton fields and save his life. He wants Naseem to live and fight another day.
ग्रिंडर नसीम, जी जनाब, जीप मुझे दे, खेतों में कूद और अपनी जान बचा कर रखना। आज तो इनकी तबाही का जश्न मैं ही मनाऊंगा, अकेले।
Hamid drives the jeep to a suitable location. A third Pakistani Patton faces the stealth and wrath of an RCL gun. The jeep changes position yet again. A fourth tank comes into view. Like ancient gladiators eyeing each other, Abdul Hamid stares into the barrel of a Pakistani Patton. As Hamid tries to load a shell into the gun, he hears an explosion. Time slows down. A Pakistani shell advances towards the Indian jeep with a striking finality. Before Hamid can blink, he finds himself thrown off like a doll. The jeep has been hit. The smell of burning rubber and flesh assaults him. Major Minu Pantaki lived to tell the tale.
At that time, to conduct that fire and to observe the enemy, I had to be on a tree because there were those sugarcane crops in front of us. So we couldn't see much otherwise. At times, I had sort of informed Abdul Hamid in the direction in which the tanks were approaching. He was not very far away. We were just about 5-10 meters away from me. After that, when he had fired on that, maybe that was the third one, or tank shell got us. That's when he was trying to get the other one also.
The fourth
and
one.
That got us. And got us means it hit directly on the jeep. And I, who was about 10 odd feet away, I got the shrapnels. Because I was knocked down at that moment. And after that, of course, I didn't know what had happened then.
Thus, he died. Company Quarter Master Havildar Abdul Hamid, 50 long years ago. But if you had lived in the little village of Dhamupur in Ghazipur district, you might have seen him on his annual leave mingling with the crowds on Bazaar Day. You might have seen him march by the President on Republic Day along Rajpath to the thunder of drums with the famous regiment of Grenadiers. Or you might have seen him on a winter's day in his village as the blue smoke curled slowly into a dying sunset. Around him, a group of excited little children listening to his endless stories of the famous Grenadiers, of battles long ago embroidered with names like Multan, Burma, Palestine and Gaza, the Tigris and many more from World War II. And he would always remind them that the Grenadiers in those faraway days was looked upon as a unit for prowess in battle. It was something special, he used to say.
For the most conspicuous bravery and single-minded determination, in complete disregard of personal safety, in the highest traditions of the Indian Army, the highest decoration for valor on the battlefield, the Paramveer Chakra is awarded posthumously to Company Quartermaster Havildar Abdul Hamid.
Tenaciously he held on to his position and met the Pakistani armour head-on. There was nothing in their training manuals, no set formula for dealing with courage and fury such as this. No machine that could daunt the will of man. Colonel Abdul Rasul Khan.
My own estimate is no less than dozen he must have.
Dozen tanks.
The atmosphere was such that there was no time to count exactly who shot what. He shot tanks for 3 days. And mind you, he was in open jeep. And so much of artillery fire, so much of armor fire, he didn't go down in the tanks. For 3 days, situation was such. You were holding the defenses with the skin of your teeth. So for 3 days he killed. These 4 RCL guns fired an astounding 137 rounds. And to count how many tanks killed, silly. The most important thing is that armored was stopped.
The infantry soldiers of the Indian Army had conquered overwhelming odds, aided by the Indian cavalry and artillery. Colonel Manohar Sethi of the 91 Mountain Regiment was there in those days.
I was a lieutenant at that time and I was deployed as an OP officer or a forward observation post officer in support of the armor and infantry units. I got the information that my co-officer Lieutenant Minu Pantaki has been injured and that he fell from the top of a tree. I knew about Abdul Hamid's capability in the previous days. So when the lull in the battle took place, I happened to visit that spot. And when I went over there, I found a smashed jeep and a recoilless gun. Plus, I found a pool of blood and some strewn human flesh here and there, which I was told was that of Abdul Hamid.
He has sealed his place in history with his blood. For his family in the obscure village of Dhamupur, there was no body to be received for the last rites, merely the news of his death via the newspapers.
अखबार से मालूम भयल हाँ पारी परा आदमी हमारे घर पर आवे लगना उससे मालूम भल हमार जेवर रहना हमार बड़ा वाला लड़का अखबार पढ़ के पढ़ना तो हमार लड़का बड़का रोवे लगल चुप करो ना कि नहीं चुप रह झूठ बात है एकरे बाद कुल ढेर आदमी बटुर गई ना
Rasulan Bibi remembers her last meeting with her husband. He was on his way to his regiment when his bicycle broke down near the village pond. Don't return, stay back, the village elders urged him. But Hamid was firm.
बातचीत ये भई कि गईलन गांव के नगीचे इसका पोखरा रहे हमसे पूछ के गईलन तो वहाँ गईलन तो साइकिल भस्ट हो गई अभी तक टूट गल बंधन तो आपस हो गई न घरे फिर एक बाद तो कुछ देरी पर फिर गई न बूढ़ा उड़ाऊ माना कहीं न कि भी मत जा करना ही ना माने अब हमें जाए के हम जाए.
At 80 plus, Rasulan Bibi says her memory has become hazy and 50 years is a long time. Yes, 50 years is a long time. And public memory too has become hazy on this war which turned the tide between tragedy of 62 and the triumph of 71. The story needs retelling, lest we forget. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha.
Abdul Hamid's story is a very, very inspiring story, not just for those who follow the 1965 war, but also for all the youngsters who look upon our armed forces as being a group of men and women who exemplify the concept of national service and patriotism. You know, he's a Paramveer Chakra, and in my office in Delhi, I have no photographs of any politicians. I have only photographs of all the Paramveer Chakra winners through the years in this country, because I believe they're the true heroes of this nation and who have played a big part in making our country what it is, which is secure and safe. And Abdul Hamid has always been an interesting story for me because his combat in Asal Uttar in the 1965 war was one of absolute personal courage and bravery. He almost single-handedly foiled the Pakistani strategy to enter the western sector. So in so many ways, his heroism that day typifies and personifies what the armed forces of India does.
Rajiv Chandrasekhar is the brain behind Flags of Honour, a platform for ordinary citizens to reach out to war veterans and pay respect to the martyrs and their families.
We do a number of things, but most importantly what we do is we give a sense of comfort to the families of those who have laid down their lives, that they are not alone and that the people of India and indeed, from all over the country are with them, are there to support them, not just on that one day when the death of their loved one makes the news, but for all times thereafter. We have successfully reached out to many families who have been forgotten, who have been left in penury, who have been left in financial distress from as way back as the 1962 war. And we have reached out and tried to give financial assistance, scholarships, in addition to the money, also to provide them the logistical support when they have to deal with the government and often insensitive parts of the government. So we help them navigate through all that.
Flags of Honour took upon itself the task of restoring the memorial, among others, of Abdul Hamid in his native village.
This is the first memorial that we restored because it was a very sad thing to see Company Quarter Master Abdul Hamid, hometown, which is where his story and his life and his death should be celebrated the most, allowing his memorial to languish. It took me less than 5 seconds to decide that we needed to do this. And so we undertook the repair, restoration, and the re-inauguration in a way of his memorial in his village of Dhampur in Ghazipur district, UP. And I think it is still there, providing sense of inspiration to all the young people of that village and of that district.
In faraway Asal Uttar, he is not forgotten. Journalist Avijit Ghosh was there this August.
The memorial of Abdul Hamid is on the outskirts of Asal Uttar. It's just by the road, say about 6-7 kilometers from the border.
Where he fell?
Yeah, that is what it says. That the memorial, there are lots of inscriptions there. One of them says, here on this sacred soil rests this brave son of India. Reads a part of the commemoration. It's a fairly nice compound in which the memorial is there. It's spread over an area which is roughly 1/3 the size of a football field, and it is filled with a variety of trees like eucalyptus, bottlebrush, teak, jamun, peepal and neem. And I also spoke to Pyara Singh. He's the 35-year-old memorial's caretaker, and he also spoke of Hamid with reverence. He said, I love looking after this memorial because he considered it to be a form of seva. And he also said that lots of visitors come to the area all the time. They come from different parts of India, some even from abroad, and they come, they take photographs, they make even video films. And in general, he said that people haven't forgotten Abdul Hamid.
Today, it is quiet and peaceful around the memorial of Abdul Hamid in Asal Uttar, a place that leaped into world headlines, a ground that was drenched with the blood of our men in uniform. Birdsong has long replaced the bark of weapons, and the wind can read and ponder the words on the memorial.
We will remember them. They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
Not only today, as we commemorate the Golden Jubilee of the 1965 war, but every day. At the going down of the sun, we should remember them.